Welcome back to another episode of Questions with Crocker with me, Dr. Crocker, and my husband Shane's here today.
Hey.
Yay, you're back with me.
Back again.
So this is a podcast with me, an emergency veterinarian, and Shane, who is an entrepreneur.
Not an emergency veterinarian.
Not an emergency veterinarian. He's a finance guy, an entrepreneur. We own a general practice vet hospital together. We have 2 kids, a crazy life, and we answer your questions about all things business vet med related. You can listen to us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts, and you can find us anywhere on social at Questions with Crocker. We love your questions, so make sure to leave them. And we really, really love your reviews. You can also watch us on YouTube. If you look, I actually have a long sleeve shirt on and layers because it is cold here in Texas. It's below freezing, which means everyone acts like we are going to die and everything is shutting down.
We may die, actually.
It's actually funny because when we started dating, I told you I would actually live somewhere cold. I like the cold weather. I think you can always put more layers on, but you can't when it's really hot, take off enough layers to cool down. And you were like, absolutely not.
I like cold for small spurts of time.
Like little getaways to ski, but you don't want to. I think you once said you don't like it because when it melts, it's like gross and muddy and slushy and all that. You don't mind the snow, but it's like the afterwards of all of it.
Yeah, that's probably very true.
But in Texas, it is wild when it gets cold because Facebook next door groups, I swear to you, every 5 minutes, someone's like, how are the roads? Can we drive on the roads? And I'm like, go outside and look at the road. And of course, you have people that are like, heck, it's fine. Like, I used to drive on this every single day and y'all are freaking out over nothing. You have people that are like, I believe we'd risk our children's lives.
We need all the voices.
I think it's accurate, though. I mean, there's people that are so all on the ends of the spectrum. And I've talked about it before. When you own a business and there's going to be bad weather, you have the same people in your practice where some people are like, I'm not coming tomorrow. And I'm like, okay. And then others are like, yeah, my vehicle can handle it. Like, I'll be there. So we're going to make it happen. It's going to be good. It's going to be fun. We did have a client that called today and she's like, can I move my appointment tomorrow? I said, yeah, sure. And she said, it's going to be cold. I just don't want to deal with it. I said, okay. So she said, let's do next week when it's not cold anymore. I said, all right, I guess that's how it's going to be. So hopefully some people show up for their appointments tomorrow so we can pay our bills and keep things going.
That would be good.
That would be good. So we haven't made a podcast episode in a while together, mainly because life has been crazy. I was really sick during BMX for a while, and then I was traveling. You have just been busy. And then both our kids decided to get sick.
A lot of sickness going around.
Yes. One probably had the flu. One had strep. And the funny thing is, I don't know if I told you this, I went to pick up Corbin's medication, and I was talking to the pharmacist. And I was like, hey, are you guys doing flu shots? And they were like, huh. I'm like, why did you just laugh at me? They're like, well, it's like a little late in the season to get the flu shot. So I got shamed for waiting so long. But life happens. And I was like, well, better late than never, right? And they're like, yeah, but we don't have any right now. But they totally shamed me. And I'm like, there's kids dropping like flies still. So obviously it'd be worth it to at least try to get it. But maybe it's not as effective this year.
Sounds like they missed the strand a little bit.
I don't know. So many people are sick. So it might be that it's not effective. But we're back. I feel more rested now. I did work at the ER the last 2 nights, and we had a couple interesting cases. So one, I put my cases on social media. Have you watched my stories recently? No. I love how supportive you are as a husband.
I'm trying to distance myself from social media.
It is a wild place right now. That's for sure. So we had a case come into the ER, and it was a puppy, and the puppy was acutely blind. Owners had noted all of a sudden it was bumping into things at home. It was very lethargic. It was tremoring a little bit, very dull. And the story was that the puppy had bloody diarrhea, and they talked to their friend who's an equine vet, which I really hope this part isn't true. But that person told them that they could give just a little bit of a horse dewormer to the puppy, just a little bit, and it would treat for worms, and it would help the puppy's diarrhea. So many things wrong with this. You cannot accurately dispense a paste in less certain amount, even if you give just a dollop. 2, there's certain breeds that are actually really sensitive to ivermectin, which is in this paste. And so they will be more sensitive to the toxic side effects of it. And 3, I just really would hope that they would at least think it might not be worms. So you might be giving it something that could cause a big issue. It won't even treat or fix the problem. So needless to say, they gave this horse paste to the dog. The dog is acutely blind and was hospitalized for quite a while with really significant symptoms. And they can definitely die from this. They can seizure and die. So I posted something about it on social media, and I had so many messages that apparently there's all these people out there, veterinarians and others, that say this is a very cheap, reasonable way to treat your dogs that have diarrhea. And one person's comment really stood out to me that I thought was just the best comment. And they said, think about all the money these people were trying to save, not going to the vet and not treating this dog and not working it up in any way. And think about all the money they now have spent with it in the emergency room, blind, trying to keep it from dying, all because they were trying to save some money. So the point being, don't listen to somebody that's telling you you can save money if you do A, B, and C, because a lot of things, if you do them appropriately and you diagnose them the first time the right way, it will be better and cheaper in the long run. That's my soapbox and rant for the day. What do you think?
That makes a lot of sense to me, but I'm more concerned about the potential veterinarians telling them to do it.
That was my big concern too. And I used to be an equine vet, and I am not going to lie and say that I haven't heard of equine vets that definitely were doing that and were telling people that they could do that. But I also know a few that would tell people, hey, when you give this dewormer to your horse, you can't let your dogs even eat the horse poop because it's so toxic that they can actually get sick from eating the poop and not even from getting that. I think
that's my point. Like, there's such an how is there such an extreme to that?
Well, I think part of it's probably age. That's probably the biggest extreme because
but you have continued education to age the gap.
That's
of medicine.
Very true and very valid. The other thing is cost. Like if people feel like vets are too expensive right now and so they're trying to help out somebody, then they're going to think, well, this recommendation probably won't hurt them because maybe they haven't seen a really bad ivermectin toxicity. But working in the ER, I've definitely seen several. And usually I will say if dogs lose their sight and they go blind from ivermectin toxicity, the sight will come back, but it can take weeks
so my next question is, in human medicine, do things like this occur as well? Where a dentist or ophthalmologist say, hey, take this for your heart issues? I mean...
And then it not... I'm sure, because there's always the discussion around, we'll try apple cider vinegar for this or try this, maybe the more holistic methods versus the traditional Western methods, which I am very much a Eastern Western. I think they both have a place in medicine, but there's some things that just have no scientific proof behind them or they've shown to actually be dangerous. And so it is crazy to me that people just in their own world maybe haven't experienced a negative side effect to something, so they feel like they can spread that information to everyone. Or maybe you understand how to use something and no one else does.
Again, if it's a layman, I understand that. But a veterinary professional that has a license to practice medicine shouldn't be giving out misinformation on anything that could potentially harm another animal. That's crazy.
Would love that to be the case. There's actually one guy on TikTok who has lost his he gave up his veterinary license because he was about to lose it because he was giving free advice online that was seen as harmful to pets. And he is huge on social media. People love him. They follow him. He makes, I don't even know how much money off his videos. And literally he's saying give garlic to your dog. Can he still
give advice if he...
Oh, yeah. Now he can, and he can't get in trouble because he's not giving it as a veterinarian.
But wouldn't he be impersonating a veterinarian?
No, because he's not saying that he's he is a veterinarian, but he's not practicing as a veterinarian. So somehow he got around the rule of you can tell people what to do with their animals as a veterinarian by giving up his license. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy, but he is making a lot of money. When you look at his videos and his views, I'm like, he's found the secret sauce. You can sell your soul on social media if you want to, right? And you can make a lot of money. I'm still
contemplating that.
Is that how we're going to pay for things at our vet hospital?
Yep.
We're going to sell our soul. Speaking of social media, fun, and I wasn't sure if we were going to kind of talk about this, so I'm going to give a very brief informational about it because I think it's to be open and honest about things and maybe like the negatives too of social media. But one of the reasons too that we've been a little quiet is there's been things going on. And recently, the past couple of weeks, it was found out that there was an account that was impersonating me on Facebook that had my name, that had pictures of me, and basically were saying they were me as a veterinarian. Now, impersonating me, I've actually had other people make fake accounts and steal my content, and really it wasn't as big of a deal. But this account did have like 6,000 people that were following it, I believe, and they were an admin of a supplement group. So they were giving advice in this closed group and basically telling people like, you don't need to be treated. You can take these supplements for your pet's condition. And they were saying that as me, as a veterinarian. And so that was worse than just impersonating me. And the reason I found out is because I actually got 2 emails in a row of someone saying, you scammed me. I bought the supplements, I paid you $300 and I never got them. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, it wasn't me. So they actually linked the page because I had been blocked from it. And I discovered like all the information. And I actually posted on the page a couple times, like, this is fake, this is a scam. Then I got blocked. Pretty much every account I tried to access it from, I got blocked. I couldn't join the supplement page. It's a private group, so you can't like get into it. And I immediately like talked about it online, recommended people report it, had to escalate it multiple times. It was weeks of trying to get it taken down. And I got another email that said, and this one really like bothered me a lot, but it said, why did you stop communicating with me? I was messaging with you on social media about my dog that has osteosarcoma, which is bone cancer, and you were telling me about the ways it could be cured without chemo, and you just stopped messaging me. And I felt horrible, even though it wasn't me that they were talking to, but that someone had given this person whose dog had bone cancer the hope that their dog could live and make it and survive like without chemo. And it's a horrible diagnosis no matter what you treat with. And I had to write them back and say like, I'm so sorry. That wasn't me. I'm sorry about your dog. I'm sorry about what you're going through. And I am unaware of any holistic supplement treatment you can give a dog with bone cancer and not treat it with chemo. And so I think like I'm really upset and hurt because one, I built like a brand reputation where I really try to be like helpful to pet owners and helpful to people and supportive. And then for someone to take that and like twist it in such an ugly way is, I don't know. It just shows like the really ugly side of people.
Yeah, I mean, people are crap.
Yes.
But also, this is my rant. Facebook's crap, to be honest with you. Like, you pay for Meta Verify to verify that you are who you are and this is your identity.
Yeah.
And you have no way of getting in touch with these people. And when you do through some type of chat or email, they blow you off. Like, that to me is absurd. Like, if they're going to have this huge platform and on top of that, have people pay to verify they are who they are, you should be able to shut stuff like this down instantly, especially when they're giving medical advice to animals or people or whatever it is. Like,
that could hurt them.
That's absurd to me that
Yeah.
you can't contact somebody and say, hey, I pay for this service, verify who I am. Now go look at these accounts and shut these accounts down.
Yeah.
Because the supplemental account's still up.
Well, that's what I tried to do was to do that. And basically they said, they just kept saying, no, we're not going to take down the account impersonating you until I linked it on social media and so many other people I knew went.
And they shouldn't have to do that.
And that was wild to me that it took so long. But I agree with you. The supplement account is still up. They now have another fake veterinarian page that is in it and is adminning it. And who's
so they're
giving advice. They're doing the same thing.
With a different veterinarian.
With a different veterinarian. And they're putting information out that could be harmful to pets. And they're scamming people. I mean, I have knowledge that they are getting $300 from people. And there is over 3,000 people in this group that are looking for help for their pets. And so that is my frustration too, is we know that they're doing something. They impersonated a veterinarian, which is illegal, or giving advice, medical advice that is harmful to pets. And it is still active and it is still up there. So if there's anybody listening to this podcast that has any sort of, I don't know, experience with this or legal authority, I would appreciate it. The other fun part of it is the people that I shut down impersonation account. I don't know who they are directly, but they're real pissed. They're real mad. And they've sent me some emails that are untraceable that have like threatened us as a family. Like not just me, but threatened that they will come and they will end us a family because I have like called them out. And we weren't sure if we were going to talk about it, but I just feel like you can't like...
My response is welcome to Texas.
I know.
I mean, they're obviously overseas somewhere and they're probably, Nigeria or, some other country. But the reality is, I don't think that'll happen.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked to police, we've talked to who we need to talk to, and we are actively trying to like get everything shut down and figure out who they are exactly. But I don't know. It's scary and it was a lot and it makes you question like even doing this and being on this platform. But I still feel like the good that I'm doing and even the fact that people were able to reach out to me and say like, this is happening. And then I was able to use people that are supportive on social media to shut the account down. Like I still see the benefit of it. But it's just mentally and emotionally been a lot.
It is a lot. But again, I go back to the people that run these platforms. They need to have better checks and balances in place to stop this fraudulent activity. Like there's no reason not to.
And to support like good information being out there.
Yeah, and again, there's a fine line between censorship. Like we're not looking for censorship.
No.
But if it's obviously fraudulent or somebody is, impersonating somebody else, that should be shut down.
Yeah. I mean, if it's going to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
Even either a person or a pet, like,
and again,
okay.
On top of that, if you're paying for a service, you should, you should get
it'd be nice
something for that. I mean,
I'm not verified because of anything that's going to help my account. I'm verified, so this specifically doesn't happen because I don't want people to be able to use the title of veterinarian to do something. And this is like, I've said it 20 times, but I will not ask for money for things for your pets online or supplements or that are crazy. Like I will tell you about things that might help your pets directly, but I will not be in a group messaging. Like I just want people to know that. And also, if there is anybody listening that was taken in on the scam, like I'm sorry. And it really breaks my heart that happened. But there's like really horrible people in the world. And I don't know what you can do about that. Speaking of horrible people, I actually it's like a horrible person experience, but also great. So I had this guy come in with a cat and the cat was like almost non-responsive, was extremely cold. Like we could not get a temp on this cat. It was very skinny, but it had a collar on. And he couldn't speak English. So we have Boost Lingo, which will like translate for us. Like someone gets on the phone and they can talk and we can talk. And so
can you still on your phone now? Like on your...
You can do it on the phone. Yeah, we do it on the computer or the phone. And it's great. Like they come on and we can tell them what the case is and what's happening. And then
can't you just like translate it yourself?
Oh, you did.
Like just talking to the phone, let them dictate for you?
So he had Google Translate out and he was trying, but it's actually harder than just having a person that's doing it.
I've seen those earbuds you can buy on TikTok.
I'm sure there's like a Meta glass now that you can do it.
Probably.
So anyways, he was very nice. He's very worried about this cat. And the story was, this is actually the neighbor's cat. And he used to see the cat all the time, like at the house, sometimes on the porch, in and out. But he said the neighbors had moved out 3 days ago and they just left the cat. And he's like, they are gone. And this cat has been outside and it's been very cold in Texas. And so he said he walked by the house and he saw the cat was out. He'd seen it a couple days ago and he saw it again and it was like almost non-responsive. So he rushed it in. So sometimes when people like bring a neighborhood cat in or they bring in a cat that's not theirs, we'll say, do you want to consider it a stray and we can take over care and like try to help it and then usually get it to like a rescue or shelter? Or do you want to take responsibility for it? And he was like, this cat is a wonderful cat and I want to take care of it. And he was very like sweet and emotional. And he's like, I will help like any way I can. So, of course, we're all like, our heart's breaking and we want the cat to be okay for him. But I did tell him through the translator, the cat is very skinny. I'm very worried there's something like big going on. Because sometimes when people leave animals, it's because they know they're sick or they know there's something wrong and they just don't want to deal with it, which is horrible. If you know and you can't deal with it, then you should let them, anyways. So did a couple tests, and one of the tests that we do is a blood glucose. It's an easy test to do because sometimes pets will be like very lethargic and non-responsive because their glucose is too low. And so they don't have enough blood sugar. And this was actually too high to read, and the cat was very skinny. So the suspicion was that it was probably diabetic and had probably been drinking and peeing in the house. And it's probably why they were keeping it outside so much, and it was getting skinnier and skinnier. And it was actually like in a diabetic coma at that point. So unfortunately, we had to tell this sweet man that we couldn't save the cat. I mean, we could put, $10,000 in this cat to try to save it, but it still would be diabetic and still would need insulin. And it was just a lot. And it was an old cat. And so he was like, I don't want it to suffer. And we still ended up at the end treating it as like a stray case. And I was like, I'm not going to charge you anything because you were just so nice. Like, he knew the cat was suffering. He just didn't want it to suffer anymore. And he brought it in. So the thing that was crazy is we're in an open concept ER. So everyone's kind of around. They can kind of see what's happening. So there was a sweet couple over here with a dog, and they were watching the case and listening, and they could hear because of the translator and other things like what our conversation was back and forth. And they pulled aside one of the technicians and they were like, there's people that'll just like move and leave their animals. Like their mind was just like blown that is even a possibility. And so then we had a discussion as a team afterwards that we kind of see like the worst and the best of people in the ER, because we absolutely see horrible cases where people don't take care of their pets, or they leave their pets, or they've abandoned them. But then we see cases where this other couple was like, we will help pay for the care of the cat. Like, we want, like, they just wanted to help, So you see like the extremes on either end, which I think goes back to like there is horrible people in the world, but there's also like way more good in the world who look for it.
Yeah.
So it was a sad case overall, but it kind of like restored my hope in like humanity, that like this person that didn't have much did everything he could.
We talk about open concept a lot, but are there any privacy concerns with like people overhearing conversations there?
So that's a great question. We get a lot. You don't have HIPAA with animals. Mm-hmm. So there are some, privacy concerns depending on the state with like what you talk about like regarding owners and information about them or information about what's happening. But most of the time, if there's a true emergency in a code, we actually will tell people they can go like up to another area away from there. And then most of the time we're talking in a tone of voice that's very quiet. And especially if we're giving bad news, it's quiet. But I think because we had the computer and she was translating, you could hear her a lot better. So she was the one that said, like, they left the cat. But I didn't feel like she was saying anything that was like a privacy concern, because she was talking about, But yes, there's no HIPAA in pets, but there are some like privacy laws that you try to respect and be aware of. But it's weird. I don't want to talk about this too long, but people actually like bond in the open concept setting. We had someone the other day that had a sick cat. It was in oxygen, and we had another pet in oxygen that they'd been there for a while, and the owner was very nice. And we were talking to the people about the cat, and it was a really bad case, and they were very sweet. But they were going to put the cat to sleep because of what was wrong and what was going on. And the guy grabbed me up front at the lobby, and he said, like, did I hear right? Are they putting that cat to sleep? And he was like, is it a financial thing? Because I will pay for the cat. And I was like, and he'd been there with his own pet in oxygen, and he just felt like, let me help. And we get that a lot. We'll also get people that their animals will be there at the same time. And like if one doesn't make it or something happens, like they'll comfort each other and they'll get to know each other because they're there with their pets and they're experiencing the same thing. So it almost creates this community where...
Kind of like people getting treated for cancer or...
Yeah. Like if you think about people that are just together at a hospital a lot, right? And so it just creates this community, and we'll have, owners just comfort each other and pump each other up, or be like, why are you here? Oh, my dog ate underwear. Yeah, my dog ate this, and it's just... it makes you feel like less alone and a little more supported, which is one of the things I think is really valuable about the open concept ER. So, okay, let's get to the questions. That's what this podcast is to be about. I feel like we had a lot to catch up on because we haven't had one for a little bit. I have 2 questions, and one is a pet question. So this is Nicole Berry Goldens, and she is someone that I follow on social media. She's wonderful. And she said that she wants to know about anal gland expression, specifically in golden retrievers, and whether repeating the process and doing so can affect the dog's natural ability to express their own anal glands or not. And she was like, nothing like a little anal gland discussion. Haha. So, I thought it was a good question because we actually get it a lot. Do you know what the anal glands are?
I mean, I don't know what they are specifically, no. But I know how y'all express them. And
you've seen us do it.
Yeah.
And then you've like run away because you're like, that's gross. Yeah. So the anal glands are kind of blind pockets that sit on the inside, right inside the rectum. And that's kind of on the lower part. And so most of the time when pets poop, they just express them naturally. Occasionally you might smell like a metallic-y, fishy smell on your pet, and that might be their anal glands. Sometimes if they get scared, it's like they contract really quick and they'll express them a little bit too. But usually they express them naturally. You don't have any issues. Sometimes there will be people that get in the habit of having them expressed for their pets. A lot of times it's because the pets scoot a lot or lick a lot obsessively at their back end, or they smell a lot. And so they want them like expressed so they don't do it on their own or so it's not irritating. And they can also get impacted and get thick material, need help being expressed, or get infections. Also, dogs that are prone to allergies will have itchy booties and anal gland issues sometimes. So they'll regularly get done, or groomers will do them regularly. So I think that if there's a medical issue, it's okay to express them regularly to like help and to monitor for medical issues. A healthy dog, though, you should not need to do it regularly.
But does it hurt if you do?
So that's a good question. And I've had some people that go to the groomer specifically, and it just gets done when they get groomed, and it's never caused a problem. So I don't think it hurts necessarily. I don't think it stops them from naturally doing it. I just think it probably causes a little trauma at the time that isn't needed, but it doesn't necessarily like cause a long-term issue overall. And I do think, though, it's uncomfortable for dogs. And so if your dog doesn't medically need it, I don't think it's something that you should do regularly. And I actually have had 2 owners that are like, we want to learn how to do this at home. Like, we don't want to come in here.
I had zero desire to do that.
And so I was like, are you sure? They're like, yeah. And by the time I got done, like explaining what to do and showing them how to do it, they're like, you know what? We're going to keep coming in here. We're not going to do it at home. And I was like, that's a smart decision. I'm very, very proud of you for that. So, but hopefully that helps answer the question. I do think, though, there's certain breeds that have more allergy issues, and so they're more prone to anal gland issues. And so Goldens and Labs and certain dogs, you'll see a lot more with the problem. And so, just check with your vet. If you see scooting, licking, messing with the booty, or you get like a nasty smell back there frequently, see if they need any help. What do you think?
Sounds gross.
Okay. And then the other question that I thought was really good that I was interested to see what you would think is JustBin610 wanted to know, what's the biggest problem VetMed will face in the next 5 to 7 years?
I think staffing is always potentially concerning.
Okay.
But probably more pricing than anything.
I 100% think pricing. I think that with the way the world is and post-COVID, how much prices went up on everything, having your prices now be reasonable as a small private practice is really, really hard. And I don't know an easy way to do that just based on how expensive everything is in the world. I mean, when we go to the grocery store now, it's double what it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's multiple things. It's the cost of product, it's the cost of labor, it's the cost of real estate, it's expectations. Like, people expect a nicer place. When I was growing up, you walked in a vet hospital and it was nasty and grungy and smelled. People expect a nice place to go into. With that comes additional cost. They expect stuff timely now, and want stuff immediate. Mm-hmm. With immediate comes, more cost. The increased level of care, you're not just given, a steroid and saying, let's see what happens. I mean, now you're running tests and and people expect, higher level of care, which comes with higher cost. So there's a lot of drivers that are driving this.
Want the blood work done right away. They want the x-rays done right away. Like they want that information and they want to know.
And I say they, I mean we, like people in general want that. It's the Amazon effect, it's just how it is. Now the flip side of that is everything else is so expensive and we want this, but can we afford it?
Right.
And that's going to be the struggle.
Well, and I think, too, because animals are considered something that are like part of the family, you want to take the best care you can of them. So it seems like money shouldn't be an issue, but money is definitely an issue. And so it's hard to have that emotional component to something that is still a business very much. And we still, on our side of things, see the emotional blackmail of that all the time. I mean, daily in practice, where people are like, so you won't help my dog if I don't have the money. And the thing is, sometimes I can't help your dog. Like I literally can't do it because I have to pay people. And I do think the expectation for what you're going to pay is so much higher. I mean, when I was a general practice vet a couple years ago, I was not making near what I'm paying my veterinarians now, and they are working 2/3 the time that I worked at that time. And full-time is no longer considered 40 hours in a lot of places. And I mean, there's just a lot of changes that have happened. So I agree with you. What it costs to be in this business as a private owner, especially, and then the expectations, like for everything else financially, there's a big discrepancy. And you could just keep raising prices and just only cater to like certain pet owners. But I think that's a hard thing too, because part of our ethos is to help. And that doesn't just mean helping people that have so much money. And so it is a balance that is tough. So many people are like, well, corporate's messing this up and they want to like have somebody to blame. But it is across the board, the world, the economy, like you said, the Amazon effect. Like it's not just one thing that's causing it at all.
No, I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it. But again, I don't know if there's a simple solution. I think it's going to evolve over time. But I think pricing is going to be probably one of the bigger challenges going forward.
Yeah.
And it's not going to crash the industry.
You don't think it could crash the industry?
No.
You think it'll continue to be like people can't afford it, or we'll find a way to pay for it?
Yeah, it'll be a supply and demand issue. So it'll eventually work its way, normalize itself, if you will.
Yeah. I think people will continue, like we're seeing a decrease in people going for routine things and preventative, still doing urgent care and emergency things. So I think you'll kind of see that shift a little bit. I also think the more, and this is maybe kind of the corporate side of things, but the more online pharmacy is being used, the more that people are able to use services that they're not having to get through their veterinarian directly. That hurts us as a business every time that someone doesn't get their products from us.
Yeah, I mean, they may save money doing that, but the veterinarian has to still have margin somewhere, so they're going to increase prices somewhere else.
Right.
So, I mean, again, short-term effect for somebody might be a $10 savings here or there, but it's going to come back to bite them. It's going to come change the industry in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, exam prices at the vet used to be like $25-$30 because everyone got everything from you. Like they got all their heartworm and flea stuff. I mean, they would get everything pharmacy-wise from you. And now a lot of that is done online. And so you're losing that revenue automatically. And so somewhere it has to be built up. So professional services is one way that you could do that and saying, okay, well, we're charging more for our time because we're going to make less off of pharmaceuticals. And I think there's always a question of like, well, how much are you marking things up? And you shouldn't mark certain things up. But I just encourage people to think about a way a business is actually run, and everything costs something. And so the time that it takes to stock the shelves, to fill a prescription, to write a prescription, to pack the prescription, all of that has to be accounted for when we're filling medications.
Completely agree.
So do you think we're going to make it is my question. No.
That's still doable.
We're going to make it. It's going to be great. We actually have a new veterinarian that's probably going to join us in May. I'm very excited about that. And if you live in Fort Worth, Keller area, we're actually going to be looking to probably hire a couple more people for our team. So keep an eye out on social media for that. But I think that's a good place to stop. I'm glad that we jumped back in. I'm glad you're here with me. Appreciate you. Did you have so much fun? Did you miss it? So much. So we're going to go snuggle up and try to keep warm here in Texas. Remember, if you want to listen to us, you can listen to us on Apple or Spotify. You can watch us on YouTube. And please, please, please leave a review. We love to see those reviews. And you can send us questions anywhere at Questions with Crocker. Thanks so much.
We'll be in Vegas in a couple of weeks.
Yes, we'll be at WVC, both me and Shane. For some reason, you're a big crowd pleaser. So we'll see us in Vegas.
I understand.
You'll see us in Vegas. Make sure you say hi, ask us questions directly. We would love that. Thanks so much and have a wonderful day.